Little girl in red, clinging on to her grandmother's neck as faces pass by that she doesn't recognize. She'll find safety in the warmth of her grandmother's eyes.
My name's Cordelia O'Driscoll. I am a singer, songwriter and composer. I've done, in most recent times, I've done songwriting mostly in theatre and musical theatre, and then also keeping going with my own singer-songwriter stuff, working with the band, but also a lot of just myself on stage with guitar and just kind of playing around a bit. I've been 22 and I've been doing it for maybe since I was about 14 or 15. I guess that's kind of what my song's about, like the women who I know, like kind of my family and my both my grannies and my mum and my aunties and my female cousins, all of them, and my close friends, women who are around me inspire me all the time in on a normal level of just being around day to day kind of strength and kind of interesting things which I love and find really inspiring. The way that you become a strong woman, and is there something about how power is inherited or kind of diffused by the people that you spend time with or the people that you're related to. And then I guess I kind of couldn't put my finger on it. And that's why the chorus is kind of maybe there's something in the way that X, Y, Z. So that's kind of what my initial idea was. And then I started writing. I was at the Edinburgh Fringe for the entire month, and I wrote half of it in a cupboard in a half flat with one of my friend's guitars, and just started thinking about. It took me a while to kind of get going with it because I knew what I wanted to say, but it was the form that I was going to use. And then I started thinking about photos. And so each little verse is about a different photo of the first two are of me, one with my grandma, one's with my mum. And then the second verse one, that's my mum pushing my granny on a bike. There are these photos that I remembered that I thought, oh, that's kind of they're moments in time that have quite a lot of meaning. So I just kind of went with that. Yeah, well, I guess in that sense, the inspiration and the informing comes from the photos. And then I guess in that sense, it's quite autobiographical. It's just me thinking about how I have kind of gone through my own life, or how other women in my family have gone through their own lives, and then exploring why being around certain women and at those certain times makes you more of a kind of strong woman, and how that actually comes to you. And that's why I guess the choruses are all kind of questions of maybe it's this, maybe it's that. And then I guess the whole overarching theme of maybe it's something in the water, that's kind of just maybe it's just everywhere, maybe everyone has access to it.
Hi, my name is Joanna Gorniak and I'm a co-founder and an artistic director of Street Factory.
Well, I'm Jess Syned and I'm a director of the Real Junk Food Project Plymouth, which is part of a network organisation of junk food projects that are a national organisation and even international now. And we're based at Adrenaline Quarry, which is where I live. It's my husband's business here. We're sitting outside in a kind of lead-to outside meeting space, which is a joy.
I'm Hannah, co-director of Nudge Community Builders, a community benefit society bringing buildings back into use on Union Street.
I'm Wendy Hart, co-director of Nudge Community Builders. Okay, so Nudge is a community benefit society. It came out of over 10 years worth of voluntary work, where we had some great fun and did some really lovely things in Stonehouse in a group called Stonehouse Action. And I was chair and vice chair over a sort of long periods of time. But we did some lovely things like Union Street Party and a community art gallery, and then we brought back a derelict building into use. without that, and without the people that helped us do that, both volunteers as well as crowdfunding people, we wouldn't be where we are today. So it was a bit of a brainchild in a pub, and lots of conversations about what we wanted to do, and take things further.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was, I guess it was kind of gradually built up, didn't it? So we kind of built up in our confidence, but also our sort of knowledge of what was holding the street back, what the community kind of wanted us to do, and kind of hearing people sort of ask for that over and over again over the years, particularly around the buildings. Why is no one doing anything about this? All that sort of stuff. So there was sort of.
I was looking for change in my life. I was a nurse, and I was working in the NHS for about 15 years. There was a lot of challenges in my role there. I hadn't had a permanent position in the NHS for a long time. I'd been on the nurse bank. It felt a very difficult place to work. And I thought, right, I either need to get a full-time job somewhere and really crack on and get stuck into something, or I need a change. I started looking for a permanent position, and it just wasn't feeling right. And then this junk food thing popped up, and I don't know what happened, but it just went in. It was a bolt to the heart, and I thought, I'm going to give it a go. So I've never run a business before. I've never been a cook. I didn't know what I was doing. I just thought it was a brilliant project. I just loved the grassroots principles, the ethos, everything I saw about it, which wasn't very much. It was just a TED talk and a little bit of Facebook stuff. But I thought I'll just see if I can do it. So I got in touch. They said, just crack on. These are the principles. These are some people in Cornwall who might like to do it with you, and just see how you go. We're here if you need support. So I did that. I just began. I set up a Facebook page.
What we started at Street Factory is I'm from Plymouth, and me and my husband got together and we were saying, I know we don't call it the projects over here, but we've got areas all around Plymouth where there's young people who feel there's no hope. There's no light at the end of their tunnel, and we wanted to do something really positive and life-changing for them. So we started Street Factory 10 years ago. We work with them to transform their mindset and get them to love themselves and be the best you and just discover their genius. We believe everyone's a genius, so we work with them and what do you love? What are your passions? That should be your job. And that's what we do, and then we get them on their pathway into employment, educational training. Street Factory is a hip-hop company, so we use the 5 elements of hip-hop. We use rapping, DJ, dance, sharing knowledge, and we use the 5 elements, we live by them, which is respect, peace, love, unity, and having fun. And we instill these values in the young people in the communities that we work with.
So Union Corner had been derelict for 25 or more years. When we had Cafe Concrete, when we had various different events, we were inviting people in to somewhere that we were very proud of, that when we look back at photographs, we thought we were a bit bonkers to have invited people in. But it was that whole journey as well of bringing back a really derelict, empty property back into use, and then seeing it come alive with people going in and connecting, and the difference then that it started to be able to make for people. And there were some lovely gentle networks that started to happen as well. So someone would come in, like Ernie would come in and play his mouth organ and be saying, if you weren't open today, I would have just sat at home. I wouldn't have spoken to anyone today. And then people like street drinkers were coming in, and in the cold weather they just mentioned they needed a hat. And then an octopus balaclava was knitted overnight and would turn up. Funny. And it's just those really lovely things that are making a difference to people. And, we always say as well, we did it with love, with and for the community. Sounds glib, but I love that L word. Lots of people don't use that L word, and we started using it in funding applications. And it was really great to start saying that, that we wanted to bring a bit of love back, a bit of heart back into people's lives, and the difference that can make. It was really great.
It's basically to eliminate food waste. So Adam Smith set up in 2013, he saw the huge amounts of food that was going either in the bin or, you know, to landfill or for animal food, and he could see that it was good quality food that could be used for human beings. So he set out on a mission to address that and change that. So the main aim is an environmental aim. It's to eliminate food waste and to change our food system. But with that food, what we try and do is feed anybody, all people, but hopefully feeding people who need to be fed as well. But that's very much a secondary aim. The first principle is environmental. And there are certain things that we have to do if we're as part of that organisation. So one of them is that everything we intercept, we audit. So the whole time that we're working and operating, we're building a body of information so that we have some data that we can use to change the system ultimately. We don't buy any ingredients because we don't need to, because there is an abundance, there is just so much food. But if we do need to buy anything, we're not allowed to buy meat, and we can only buy 10% of our ingredients. So sometimes we might buy some salt or, you know, some little bits and bobs, herbs or pot of cream or something. But it's very, very minimal, because as we've got going, there is just so much there. And then the third thing is that the food isn't sold. So that doesn't mean it doesn't have value, and that doesn't mean we don't get something in return, but it's a pay-as-you-feel model. So that means people can pay for the food with money or time or skills. That way of valuing the food and valuing our time and valuing the people that come and eat with us, that is such an interesting conundrum. And it, you know, it's quite difficult. It's quite challenging. Sometimes we don't get any money, you know, and sometimes we don't get any help. And so you have to keep digging deep and thinking, well, we'll still do it because we're saving the food, and it's actually about the food. Yeah. So, but it's quite an interesting model in that way, I think.
Street Factory is quite crazy, actually. We never do the same thing, so it's all on need. So we've got no lesson plans. We basically get a group together. We work with probably 13 years old up to 30 years old as our main age groups. Every day we do something different. So sometimes we get a group like we do Creating Change. When they come to us, they say to us, you know, we want to turn our lives around. We want that second chance. When we work with them, it's what they bring to the room. If we feel they just want a coffee and a chat, that's what we give them. If they want to get on their feet, we get on our feet. It's always led by the people that we work with. Every day is different. So sometimes it's just a dance session, sometimes it's fun, sometimes we get out the mics and we rap, we write poems, spoken word. It's youth work led, but in a real hip-hop way, in a cool way. So it's always get on your feet, let's explore it, let's not stay still. When they tell us their stories, we feel true empathy for them, but what we say, it has to be followed through by action. So if you feel something, it has to be followed by action. Don't just have a cup of tea and go, that was sad. What can we do as a community, as Plymouth together? Different every day.
Her first birthday, see the hands of her mother light the flame. Not a day will pass where those hands won't light the way. Maybe there's something in
Lots of work. It felt like, and I think that both of us, coming from being volunteers, gave ourselves quite a hard time about the transition between being volunteers, setting up Nudge, and then taking a salary. I think there was, well, definitely for me, there was a sense of guilt as well about that, and a sense that I really needed to justify what I was doing, and so was already working quite hard as a volunteer and then upped it some more. And so, yeah, it feels like you're always pelting towards something, but actually you don't mind because it's just what you want to do, you know. So there's lots to do, there's lots of things that you've got to learn again, or not again, but you've got to learn for the first time. You know, it's like, it's having to do everything, really, isn't it? But but there's also lots of people that are out there to support us as well.
Yeah. And I think it's, there's lots of kind of hidden stuff that we do that people don't realise. And so we've been talking a lot about that sort of gloss And it's like, you know, we got in The Guardian and all of that, and it's like these people interview us and are like, oh, you're so inspiring and all of this sort of thing. And it's like, that doesn't really match the reality. So the impression that people have got of us and what we do and how easy or hard it is and all of that sort of thing definitely doesn't match what is going on in the background. And that can be quite odd. I think it's been quite odd over the last 6 months, especially because our profile has just been so high, and yet underneath it's like the most basic. You know, we didn't have an office until February, was it? You know, we were working in Weatherspoons and all over the place, and it was like, you know, it's all that sort of stuff where you're just like, toilets with no light on. Do you know, it's that sort of thing where you're just like, yeah, okay, this doesn't match. It has been quite extreme, hasn't it? So it's been quite emotional, and I think it's partly because of that, because we've been doing really well, but in the background we're a bit like, ah.
We rely really heavily on volunteers. So we don't want to rely on grants and that kind of funding, because we are a social enterprise business. But we work very, very closely with our volunteers. And we have about 30 volunteers who regularly work with us, but we've probably worked with about 50 people over the 2.5 years that we've been going. And they are absolutely brilliant. You know, we've just got such a great group of people. Sometimes we pay people when we can, or if they're doing lots, or if we're being paid properly for something, then we'll pay staff. Vicky and I earn £600 a month each, and we probably work, I would say, 4 full days a week. So it's probably minimum wage for half our time, I would say. But I'm lucky I can do that, you know. And I wasn't earning very much when I was nursing. I'm actually earning more now than I was when I was nursing. Slightly more hours. And, you know, my food bill's gone down by £60 a week. So that's a lot. And then there's a certain amount of expenses and things. But we just make it work by using our pay-as-you-feel donations wisely.
Yeah, well, I'm a mother of 6, so I've got 6 children, 3 boys and 3 girls, and my life, as you can imagine, is very hectic, and I also home educate all of them. So my lifestyle is full on, but I love it. Me and my husband love what we do, and we are probably parents to about 100 children in Plymouth as well. But we live it. It's not our job. I mean, I'm an actress. I've trained in New York and Los Angeles and all over the UK. I've been in really major productions, and I use my acting as sort of a therapy with them. Toby's a breakdancer, and we use our life experiences. What we've been through in life, we've walked into in the shoes of a lot of these young people that we work with. And that authenticity of like real recognises real, it just works. We've had young people living with us. We've had people with us on Christmas Day. We had over 40 people with us last Christmas. So this isn't a job, it is our life, and we love it.
Well, great support from volunteers. Doing it with Vicky, she's amazing. We've got the same sort of, I think we've got exactly the same work ethic. You know, we kind of, I never feel that she's not doing enough, and I don't think, you know, so we're really good tag teaming. And my kids are bigger now. I just leave them in the house. They have Xbox days. Yeah. And then I have days where I leave my phone at home and I go with them, and you know, so you find the balance. And sometimes I just leave and just say Vicky does it for a week. So we just work it out. You know, it's just like work, isn't it? It's like anybody's work. But I think because when it's your own thing, and when it's something like this, and when people are relying on you, it could take over if you didn't hold firm a little bit.
Yeah, it is quite messy, yeah. I think, isn't it? And it's, you know, I guess as a volunteer, it's almost like a lifestyle choice, really. And so, like, both of us have had, you know, our kids all over the place whilst we're doing events and things like that, but also, like, I love the fact that my kids are already talking about what difference they can make, what, you know, thinking about business, stuff like that. So we've both kind of heard that back from our children. But at the same time, that's really, really hard. That AGM when Matilda was climbing over my head. I think. And I just carried on talking, and she was like all over the place and stuff like that. Where you're just like, oh my goodness. And now it's really interesting, I think, because we have to keep reminding ourselves that even though we're working, there aren't any rules. And so that's a good thing in some ways, but some ways it makes it kind of messier, because you can just do everything. So when are you working, when are you not working, when are you doing family stuff, and what's in the middle, and all of that sort of stuff. I mean, in the run up to the opening of the Clipper, like Izzy fractured her arm the day before?
The day before, yeah.
Yeah, day before, as all of that stuff just goes boom, boom. You just don't know when it's going to land, do you? And it's like, so you like having to juggle all of that, I think, is, is tricky sometimes. But in another way, we're like in the luckiest place, because we're literally a minute away from, our homes, our school. You're kind of embedded in a community that, you feel relatively safe with your children kind of being at different things and stuff like that. And I think people seeing that is quite important as well. Seeing that that's sort of part of what we are.
Yeah. I think, I'm incredibly proud at how my children can talk to anybody as well. And that's really because they've come along to everything. They might have grumbled and moaned a lot, and it might have been quite difficult to keep them there at things. But actually, it's been brilliant that they've met so many different people as well, and have a real understanding as well of those different sort of circumstances that people are in. So I feel, although people say to me, oh, you do so much, or you've done so much, and why do you do all of that? It gave so much back as well in those times. And not saying that I'm totally selfish, but it definitely does give you lots of love back, and lots of kind of different understanding of different people. And it's fun. I wouldn't know what to do. Well, I wouldn't know what to do with my time. I've got loads of things that I never get round to doing. But I would have a huge gap, I think, if I didn't do all the stuff that I did. And if I didn't feel like it was really making a difference, I don't really see the point as well. So lots of people that I
Love yourself, be you, go out there. What is different? How could you be different? Where is your niche in the market? Be the best at it and find the best you, and then you'll just thrive. And sell yourself. Be on social media, show people how great you are. Blow your own trumpet, because a lot of people are scared of that, but not in an arrogant way, in a real positive, empowering way. And that's the way I would tell young people to do it, because that's the way I would do it. So again, even though that is a problem, that maybe women are underpaid, I would think, forget that, let's find solutions. Let's shout about how great we all are. And also kindness. I find like with women, we need to be kinder to each other and empower each other more, and share knowledge with each other more, and unite, and shout about each other. So if I can't do say I'm in a room and I can't do that, what they're asking me to do.
Yeah, and like you said about it's a different way of leadership as well, that you look up lots of things around leadership, and it is that sort of heroic one person, and it really isn't. The success really isn't just on one person's shoulders. And actually, if it is, then it's going to stint it anyway. It's going to stunt the growth, isn't it? Because you can't possibly keep all the ideas in one person's head. So leading from the side, or even leading from the back, is a great way. Might be a little bit messy sometimes along the way, but it's done, it's delivered, and people feel really involved in it and own it, rather than someone kind of just sort of that task and finish, or whatever you would call it, which locks a load of collaboration out, and locks a load of connection out. And I'm not saying that's male or female necessarily, but it's just really interesting that there can be a different, more gentle way of getting what we need and what we want. So
It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. And I think before I started this project down here, I'd never really volunteered on a regular sort of basis. I'd done things, helped out at school and done things and things like that. But I'd never really been involved with volunteering, and it's just brilliant. And I think I'll always have that in my life now, and that's great. There's just so many cool things to get involved with, and the volunteers that we have are just so generous. They're just so amazing. They're just constantly offering to do more and more. They're just so lovely, all of them, and they're just so skillful and really generous, and they're just, it's just brilliant. I've met so many nice people, which is lovely.
Little girl in red, clinging on to her grandmother's neck, as faces pass by that she doesn't recognize. She'll find safety in the warmth of her grandmother's eyes. Little girl in grey, looking down on her first birthday. See the hands of her mother light the flame. Not a day will pass where those hands won't light the way. Maybe there's something in the way she wears her clothes or her perfume. Maybe there's something in the way she sings those songs in living rooms. Maybe there's something in the way she talks a language just for truth, or just something in the water running for us too. For us two, for us two, for me, for her, for you. Little girl in white, in the past, running fast through evening light. She's pushing her mother on her bike, both lost in laughter. There's freedom in their smile. Maybe there's something in the way she fights, but always keeps her cool. Maybe there's something in the way she fixes tables, chairs and shoes. Maybe there's something in the way she knows if someone's being true, or just something in the water was sailing down a river. These women at the helm, they raise you like their sails, with power, love and strength. We catch the wind with outstretched arms. These pirates always stand guard. Just let the water drive you, and your Maybe there's something in the way she ties your shoes when you are small. Maybe there's something in the way she keeps old pictures on the wall. Maybe there's something in the way we race together back to home, or just something in the water